Hi, it's Dennis Daly. During the early 1950s, listeners to CBS Radio were treated to nearly 120 episodes of one of the best detective shows of all time. So I'm focusing in on the adventures of Philip Marlowe. By 1949, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, starring Gerald Moore in the incarnation you and I remember best, that show was the most popular show of its kind on radio. CBS had a real hit on its hands, and there are those who say that in some parallel way, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, if for no other reason than it began as a pot-boiling kind of detective mystery show with the first-person narration going on, that yours truly, Johnny Dollar, was kind of a child of Gerald Moore's portrayal of Philip Marlowe. Also, I want to talk this week about Richard Arant. He wrote that rock'em sock'em in-your-face music for The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. He was a multi-talented man, a concert organist, worked on a lot of other shows at CBS, including Rocky Jordan, and by all accounts, a really nice guy. Now, the first of our two episodes from 1949, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe.
Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gutter, the prison, or the grave. This started with a terrified woman lost in a maze of memories she couldn't explain. And waiting for her outside an open window was death.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now with our star, Gerald Moore, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Open Window.
California's a year-round kind of place, where each day blends into the next with a sort of sunny indifference. But the one just passed had been a little special. It was the cool, crisp autumn weather that reminded you of the East, where autumn meant kicking your way through knee-deep drifts of brown and yellow leaves, along a rutted country road that hinted at adventure at every turn. Yeah, that's the kind of a day it had been. But now, at a little past 8, as I stood at the window of my third-floor apartment and stared out over enough improved Los Angeles real estate to house maybe 500,000 people that tonight I wanted no part of, because the world was out there minding everybody else's business, while I was in here minding my own. In here, everything was in order and cozy. I could read if I want to, write a letter if I want to, or just relax with... Oh, no.
Your name Philip Marlowe?
Yeah, why?
Because I have that name and this address written here on this card. I think I was supposed to see you. Do you know me?
Well, no, frankly, I don't. What were you supposed to see me about?
Who are you, Mr. Marlowe? I mean, what sort of business?
I'm a private detective.
Private detective?
Wait a minute. It's not that bad a racket, is it? Oh, now, look. Why don't you come in and we'll talk this over, huh? Come on.
All right. Thank you.
There. Sit down, won't you? You look like you can use a drink. Do you want one?
Oh, no, thank you. I just need to rest a moment.
Oh.
I've been walking for hours.
Well, now, tell me, what is it?
A man, I think. Someone's been following me. I was followed here, I'm sure. I don't know why.
Really?
This is Los Angeles, California, isn't it?
Yeah.
I keep thinking... That is, I feel as though it should be Vancouver, British Columbia.
Oh?
I don't know how I got here or why I want to see you, but I've walked until I'm nearly exhausted, and I found that I'd written your name and address on this card here, so I decided to come and try to find out.
Well, now tell me, do you know who you are?
No, I don't know who I am.
Mm-hmm. This man you're afraid of, do you know him?
No. But I believe he knew me. He reminded me of Vancouver, and that frightened me. I seem to remember I saw him a year ago. Maybe it was just the day before yesterday. See how crazy that sounds. But I can't help it. I can't remember.
Here, take it easy. Now, you better lie down on the divan. That's it. Come on. Atta girl. Look, I think we ought to call a hospital and see it. Stay where you are. It's company in the hall, maybe for us. Now, just take it easy.
Hey, you, hold it. Hold it up there.
Oh, great.
Who was it, Mr. Marlowe?
I couldn't see. Don't let it bother you now, honey. It's probably just one of my clumsy neighbors. He never watches where he's going. You know, the other night...
Stop, please.
All right.
Whoever was out there was looking for me. I know it was. I know it.
Now, look, honey. Isn't there something you can tell me? Don't you remember anything?
I don't know. Here, look in my purse. There are things in it I don't understand. Maybe there'll be some help.
Key. Address on a piece of brown paper. 8400 North Virgil. Tompkins. Does that mean anything to you?
No.
A little snapshot album with one of the pictures missing.
Wait a minute. I remember now. It was stolen.
Good.
But I don't remember what the picture was. Oh, please try to find out who I am and why I'm being followed. Please try to find out why I'm afraid.
All right, baby. Now, you stay here till I get back, huh?
I won't bother anything. I'll wait right here. Oh, I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
I figured what she needed most was rest, and she was getting that fast, so I dropped the items from her purse into my pocket, snapped the lock on my apartment door, and left. My first stop was the phone downstairs in the lobby, where I found out that the Missing Persons Bureau had no one on file answering her description. My next stop was 8400 North Virgil. A half hour later, I found it. A crumbling stucco rooming house in a welter of knobby hills, huddled with other ramshackle houses that years ago had abandoned any hope of beauty in the face of the leaky, bobbing oil wells that had invaded the neighborhood like a horde of huge, greasy grasshoppers. I walked past one of the creaking monsters in the front yard, then down a grimy hall with door marked Manager Jacob Philpotts, below which some neighborhood wag had penciled Stinks. Wasn't funny. But neither was Jake Philpotts.
Yeah. What is this? Speak up, Sporty. I'm very busy killing a soldier. What's on your mind beside your hat?
Okay, comic, I want to see Tompkins.
Oh, you want to see Tompkins?
That's what I said.
Well, you're too late, Sporty. He's gone. Blue flew the coop. Took the 500 berries and shoved off 2 hours ago.
Well, where?
Well, for his hometown, I guess. Vancouver. It's way up in Canada. Which is a long walk, Sporty, so you better get started. Bye.
Wait a minute, Jake.
Huh?
Where did Tompkins get the 500?
Where did he get? Well, some classy guy gave it to him.
Classy guy. And why?
Well, to get out of town and stay out. So he does.
Uh-huh.
But first he pays back all his back rent and buys me a bottle besides. Wasn't that sweet of him?
That stuff over there?
Yeah.
He must have hated you. Who was the classy guy? Why do you want Tompkins out of town?
Why do you want Tompkins? Well, how do I know? What am I, an encyclopedia? Hey, look, Nosy, my whiskey's getting cold, so why don't you run along?
I want to know who the guy was, and I want it now.
Oh, so you're going to stop pushing, huh? You want to fight, huh? Okay, put him up. Come on.
Take it easy, Buster. Take it easy. You'll beat yourself to death. Now, let's negotiate.
Huh?
Prop up against the wall, and I'll talk to you. What about a price for another bottle of that stuff?
I wouldn't like to see another bottle?
That's what I said.
Oh, well, that's different. That's really nice of you, Sporty.
Not really, kid. I'm trying to poison you. Now, what was Tompkins' racket?
Oh, gardener, carpenter, handyman, nothing much. What else?
Who was the classy guy that bought him off?
Let's see. I had his name right on the tip of my tongue a minute ago. Red-headed, flashy dresser, had a sort of a... Palmer.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, that's it. Palmerly.
Very good. Now, one more. Where can I find him?
Well, he says something about running the pearls. You got it?
Yeah, it's a dive on Highland. Thanks, Philpotts.
Oh, but don't thank me, Sporty. You bought it, remember? This brand comes to $7.50 with tax.
Don't kid an old kid, Jake. You can squeeze that junk out of sour potatoes. Here's
Sour
a fin.
potatoes?
And have a happy hangover. Outside, the smell of the oil well as I passed it was welcome by comparison to Jake, which made it tough to reconcile anything I'd seen at 8400 North Virgil with the girl asleep on the divan in my apartment. As I drove back to Hollywood, then down Highland Avenue, the night was still strangely quiet. Everything seemed to come in whispers. Even the hunch I had that the vanishing Mr. Tompkins had sold out dirt cheap to the boss of the Pearls. Near 3rd Street, I spotted the place, parked a ways beyond it, and walked back. It was one of those dumps that dealt in bad bar whiskey. Second-rate bop and a lot of darkness. I shook off a brace of lost weekenders on my way through. Made it up the stairs to the offices where a block of orange light on the floor and a two-tone conversation told me to stop, look, and listen.
Time, baby.
Alan, as they say in Missouri.
Have to show you, huh?
Uh-huh.
All right, Norm, I will. You're not easy to get over. I still love you, and I've missed you. So when you dropped me for your stuffy broker friend, I did a little checking up, and I found out plenty.
About Cooper?
About Cooper Gerard.
I don't believe you.
Oh, but you should, honey. You see, Norma, it's not about him specifically, but about a woman. A woman who's all wrong, who spells trouble this deep, and I can prove it. I went to work on it tonight, and things are going to be different from now on.
Buddy, I want to
Get out of here, get out of here. Go on.
Hey, now, wait a minute. All I want to know is...
I said beat it, and I meant... Never mind, Buster. It doesn't matter anymore. My presence is now known.
Come on in, Junior. You can hear better inside.
I doubt it. I'll inhibit the performers. But thanks anyway.
Buddy, all I want to know
Try
is...
the end of the hall, then left. It's usually there.
Okay, thanks. That's all I want to know. Hello.
Hello.
What do you want, mister? Make it snappy.
Okay. Why'd you pay Tompkins to leave town tonight?
Tompkins? Who are you?
Marlowe, going to answer the question promptly?
Why, certainly. I didn't pay him to leave town. I paid him for some work, carpenter work. Why?
What's the matter, Alan? Feel the whip handle slipping?
Not a bit, baby. Look, why don't you run along now? I'll call you later. Oh, here's your cigarette case.
My cigarette case?
Yeah, take it with you. We'll get in touch later.
Okay, Alan. Good night, Marlowe.
Good night, Miss,
Picasso. Not that it'll do you any good.
That's a cute kid. Smart, too.
All right. Why are you interested in Tompkins?
Because a certain lady's interested.
And a lady's name?
None of your business.
Okay. Go on.
This key. What door does it fit, Parmalee?
How should I know? Have you got anything else?
Isn't that enough?
Not enough to worry about, Marlowe, so I suggest that you leave. And in case you have any doubts, this thing goes off awful easy.
I see your point.
Yeah. And I'd just as soon shoot as not, so start down those stairs and don't look back. I bust for a couple of the boys. They'll be at the bottom to help you out the front door. Oh, and Marlowe, take some advice. I don't like your type, so don't come back.
The boys escorted me politely as far as the sidewalk and gave me a send-off that piled me into the gutter. It's my own fault letting Parmalee get the drop on me, but he was farther ahead of me than I figured. In fact, I was lucky all I got was the bounce. I limped back to my car, got in, and started home, but something about the trio of Norma Lacasso, Parmalee, and a broker named Gerard was off-center. And Gerard's connections were too strong to pass up. So I decided to let the pale woman asleep in my apartment go right on sleeping while I stopped at a phone booth. Found only one Cooper Gerard listed, and he had 8112 North Orange Drive. It was a lonely house up in the Hollywood Hills. I tried the bell and got no answer, but I knew he was there. I slipped the enigmatic key out of my pocket and listened to the music coming from inside. I stuck it in the lock. I turned, just as the footsteps inside, so I pulled it out fast and let the party on the other side of the door do the honors.
What is it?
You're Mr. Gerard?
Yes, I'm Cooper Gerard. What is it?
I'd like to come in and talk to you. My name's Marlowe. I'm a private detective. I've got a key that fits your front door, plus a little photo album full of a girl. Here.
Why, that's Margaret's album and her key. You found her. Where is she? What's happened to her?
She's safe.
Come in the other room.
Right. So her name's Margaret, huh? Margaret what?
Vesey. Margaret Vesey. But where is she? I've been frantic. I just called the police. She left the house this morning and didn't come back. It's late now, and in her condition, I'm afraid that
What is Margaret's condition, Mr. Gerard?
She was injured in an auto accident a year ago last July, up near Vancouver. It affected her mind. Oh, but please, where is she?
Just a minute. There are some questions that I'd like answered first. Exactly what is Margaret Vesey to you?
Well, until July 9th, 1948, when that horrible accident happened, nothing. Merely a hitchhiker. My wife and I were motoring back from a vacation in Canada. We picked Miss Vesey up on the road. In the accident, Grace, my wife, was killed. Miss Vesey seriously injured. All I knew about her was that she was alone in the world, so there was no one to help her. Well, since I was driving the car, I assumed that responsibility. It was the least I could do. I stayed with her in Vancouver until she'd partially recovered and then brought her here. She's been with me ever since. Now, will you please take me to her?
But the story doesn't end there.
What do you mean?
Margaret Vesey's in trouble and she's scared. Come on, let's go get her. She's asleep in my place.
You didn't leave her alone.
Oh, yes, I did.
You shouldn't have done that. Couldn't you tell from her mental state that she isn't responsible? For 2 days she's been moody. She's been talking about suicide. She might... Marlowe, if anything's happened...
Come on, Gerard, let's travel.
In just a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, by the time you've listened to Johnny Dollar, Philip Marlowe, Gangbusters, and Escape, and the CBS All-Star Saturday Night lineup, you may be for some sleuthing of your own. So try it with Sing It Again and the Phantom Voice. Don't always let the other guy or gal solve the mystery. Try it yourself with Sing It Again on most of these same CBS stations every Saturday night.
Tune in this fall for the shows that you love best of all.
Listen carefully.
Here's the address. It's CBS.
Now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Open Window.
It took 10 minutes to get from Gerard's house to my place. I knew because he reminded me of each one as it passed. But when we turned onto Franklin Way, we could see my apartment house, the word hurry stuck in his throat. An ambulance was pulling away from a tight knot of people standing on the concrete driveway beside the building. And 3 floors above them, glowing like a single ugly, unblinking eye, was the window of my own apartment wide open. Even before I could stop the car, Gerard was out and running toward the crowd.
Who is that ambulance?
The woman, mister, was terrible.
She fell out of that open window up there.
Did you see it?
No, nobody saw it happen.
Yeah, it's bad, brother. They say she's been laying here on the concrete for at least a half hour before anybody got to her.
It's been so quiet around here tonight. I'm surprised that...
Tell me, was she dead? Just about. They don't give her a chance.
Come on, Gerard, let's go upstairs.
The police are up there now. They're trying to find out...
You say the woman came here to your apartment, Mr. Marlowe, and asked you for help. Is that right?
That's right, officer. She was frightened and exhausted. When I left, she was asleep on the divan there.
Was the door locked, Marlowe?
Yeah, it's got a night light, Gerard. I snapped it myself.
And you left her alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, take a look around, will you? See if you can find anything to indicate that an outsider came in while you were gone.
What makes you think there was an outsider here?
Because I don't think she fell.
Margaret was in mental turmoil, officer. She's been despondent. It's possible that she jumped.
Yeah? How many people have you heard of that jumped out of a window backwards, mister? I think she was pushed.
Pushed?
Yeah. Come here, both of you. I want to show you something.
He went over to the window and pointed at 5 scratches where fingernails had clawed the paint off the casing. The one that had to be made by her thumb was the lowest. It was true. She'd gone out backwards. As the officer explained that to Gerard, I stared down at the dwindling knot of people 3 stories below. Then up again at the 5 jagged scars ripped deep by a terrified woman's nails. Stared at them until they screamed at me as a sick mind must have screamed when she fell.
Now, Mr. Marlowe, what about this cigarette stub with lipstick on it?
Cigarette stub... Hey, that's exactly what I'd like to know. Gerard, where does Norma live?
Why, the Hillcrest Apartments on Sunset. But surely...
Never mind what I think. You go to the hospital and find out about Margaret. I'm going to pay a call on Norma Lacasso right now. She's the type to be jealous enough to...
Marlowe, listen, you're making a mistake. That cigarette stub must be Margaret's because Norma doesn't smoke.
What? Norma doesn't smoke? What about the cigarette case? Hey, Buster, you better check with Lieutenant Matthews at Homicide. I'll see you later.
Hey, come back here, Marlowe.
The Hillcrest Apartments fit Norma Lacasso to a T. They were sleek, soft tones of burnished wood, streamlined in glass, with just enough chrome around for glitter. And when she answered her door in glossy green, lounging pajamas edged in gold, smiled and tossed a head of hair that was almost burgundy back from her face, I knew what Alan Parmalee meant. Loving Norma Lacasso would be hard to get over.
Hello, Junior. Don't tell me you're joining the league, too. It's fast, you know.
Skip it, baby. I'm coming in. Do you mind?
Did it do any good?
Mm-mm.
Get comfortable. I'll mix you a drink or something.
Hey, Norma, you know Margaret Vesey, don't you?
That peculiar girl that stays at Gerard's place? Yeah, I met her. Why?
A little while ago, she dropped 3 floors from an open window to a slab of concrete.
Oh.
Lay there over 30 minutes before she was found.
Oh, Marlowe, that's dreadful. I'm sorry. Don't look at me like that. I mean it. I like Margaret.
So do I. What's more, she didn't fall. She was pushed.
Oh.
Got a cigarette?
Sure. Yes. Catch.
Thanks. Oh, just one cigarette toss like that? Your manners are lousy. You're supposed to pass the kicks and let the guest help himself.
Marlowe, you're hurting.
I'm going to keep right on twisting until that solid gold cigarette case drops.
That's what I adore about men. They're full strength.
That's better.
Rilla. All right, to help yourself. The picture's there under the bottom layer of cigarettes. But why it's important is beyond me.
It's important to Parmalee, baby. Had you smuggled out of his office so I couldn't find it. Ah. Margaret and Gerard at some little amusement park. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Near Vancouver, probably. Told me how he used to take her out while she was recovering from that accident. So what? Even the autographs ought to make no sense to me. Yeah, this one's hers.
Yeah, we had fun this day. This must be even the hottest day in Vancouver's history.
Now, that's it, Muscles, all of it. Now, will you apologize for these welts on my arm?
I don't get it. The whole deal's screwy. The only way it would make any sense is if... Norma, where's your phone book?
Over there, under the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What have you got, Marlowe?
Just an idea so far. Stick around. It's the U.S. government. War assets, Weather Bureau. Climatological records, yeah. Mutual 64421.
Weather Bureau records.
Hello, listen, can you tell me what the hottest day on record in Vancouver has been? I mean the date. Do you have that information?
British Columbia?
Yeah.
Yes, we've got it here, I'm pretty sure. Just a minute.
What's that supposed to prove, Bob?
I'm not sure yet.
Yes, we've got it. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Go ahead.
The book says the hottest day up there was on July 3, 1948, when the
July
temperature reached
3.
92 degrees. Some heat record, huh? That's a nice place, Vancouver. I was up there 1 year.
Yeah, thanks, friend. The Weather Bureau has just lifted a cloud from a lady's mind. Hope you did it in time. So long.
You found out something big, didn't you?
The works. Well, aren't you going to pull a gun? They always do about here.
Not me. I've got concealed weapons.
You've also got dollar bills in your bloodstream instead of corpuscles. But you're smart, baby, so take a tip. Stick close to home. Don't even use the phone. You're a real nice, shiny item. I'd like to keep you that way.
Thanks. I'm going to take your word, Junior. But what does it mean?
Trouble. Just as soon as I can stir it up. Good night. From Norma's and the time that had gone by, I figured my best bet was Gerard's place, but I was wrong. It was deserted, so I took the next best, which was Alan Pomeroy's The Pearls. It was well after 2 o'clock when I got there, and the club was closed, but the lights were on in the offices upstairs. I parked, slipped around to the back, and up a flight of iron stairs to a metal door at the top. I pressed my weight against it and very gently turned the knob, and tugged softly, and it swung open without a sound. Voices in the same square of orange light on the floor said that Pomeroy's office was open again. So I eased my gun into my hand and moved until I could see him. A pair of jackals coming to terms over
Since
the
I know
carcass
your
of a
little
fawn.
secret, Mr. Gerard, the proposition I'm offering is perfectly fair.
What is it?
First, that you stop seeing Norma Lacasso. And I mean stop.
Go on.
Second, that you deliver $5,000 here to me by the end of the week. You must have got a lot of insurance on your wife, Gerard. Double indemnity, too. Am I asking too much?
Blackmail leaves me no alternative.
You're so right.
How did you find out that she's not Margaret Vesey?
A beautiful break. When you started seeing Miss Lacasa, I began checking up on you, and 2 days ago, that checking up led me to the strange woman you called Margaret Vesey and a character named Tompkins. Ever hear of him?
No.
An itinerant gardener was looking for work at your place. Also, Gerard, an itinerant gardener who knew your Margaret Vesey, who knew her as someone named Grace. And Grace Gerard, lest we forget, was your wife. When he called her Grace, it scared her. She couldn't open, but I could.
So I see. Where is this Tompkins now, Parmalee?
Oh, don't worry about him. I sent him away. He'll keep his mouth shut. He used to be a gardener on the wealthy side of Vancouver where your wife lived. Small world, eh?
Very small world.
Oh, now, wait a minute, Gerard.
I'm going to kill you, Parmalee. I knew something like this would happen someday. My wife was getting her memory back. She was beginning to remember things, to realize that she wasn't really Margaret Vesey at all. That Margaret Vesey had died in the accident. And tonight, I pushed her out of an open window. Doctors practically assure me that she'll be dead by morning. She won't be missed, and neither will you, I'm sure.
Next one's to your belly, Gerard, if you move 1 inch. You, Pomeroy, come around here. Wait me a desk. Come on.
This time I'm glad to see you, Marlowe. You're the lesser of two evils.
That's great. Well, it was a sweet story, fellas. Between you left out only one thing, the picture. You got it from the little album because you needed some tangible proof, didn't you, Pomeroy? And it cinched the deal because the accident happened on the 9th of July. But Gerard here had his picture taken with the supposed hitchhiker on Vancouver's hottest day, which was July 3rd. 6 days before he claims to have met the girl.
Picture?
How'd you manage the master stroke, Gerard? The switch in identities in the first place? Come on, talk! What are you...
It was a mistake. Both Miss Vesey and my wife were in the car at the time of the accident. The car burned. Then, somehow or other, later at the hospital, Margaret Vesey, who died, was identified as my wife, Grace.
And since her memory was gone, you made the switch complete and called your wife Margaret Vesey and left it like that. You know, Gerard, I hope you make a break for it. Just once before we get to headquarters. Let's go. You too, Pomeroy, move.
All right, but you'll have a hard time sticking me, Snoop. I haven't done anything.
Oh, yes, you have. Attempted extortion, and as of right now, you just incited a rat.
Dr. Gray to receiving ward, please. Dr. Gray.
She's in here, Mr. Marlowe.
Sure it's all right if I see her now, Doctor?
After what you've just told me, I think it's a good idea. Her condition has changed somewhat. She's responded better than I expected, but she can use some fighting spirits and spunk. Maybe you can give her that.
We can't.
I hope so.
Don't stay too long, that's all.
Hello, Grace. I'm Philip Marlowe, remember me?
What? Yes, I think I do, Mr. Marlowe. Glad to see you.
Oh, good. I just stopped by to tell you that I have all the answers to those troublesome questions in your mind. You don't have to be afraid of them anymore. We got nothing to worry about now except getting well.
Thank you. Oh, hazy back there. I can't remember where I've been.
Now, you've been away, Grace, for a long time. But now you'll be going home soon to your friends. Believe that. I'll run along now and come back tomorrow when you're feeling better. We'll have a long talk then.
Wait. Who is Margaret Vesey?
Girl you knew once, briefly. And one I'll never forget. I went to sleep one night on my divan.
I don't remember.
You will. Don't think about it now. Just think about home in Vancouver. You'll be there soon, I promise.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. It's lovely in Vancouver.
Yeah. That's what the weatherman says. Good night, my dear. When I finally got home, the air in my apartment was thick, full of stagnant fear and stale tobacco smoke. So I went over the window to open it up. But there I stopped because I remembered standing at that same window earlier that evening. Standing there thinking how happy I was that the world was out there. And how happy I was to be inside, looking out. And then I saw again the 5 deep scratches on the casing. Inside looking out, huh? There was a guy once, a long time ago, who said something like, "No man is an island entire of itself." Yeah, about 300 years ago he said that. Any man's death diminishes me because I'm involved in mankind. Yeah, sure.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Now from 1949, as heard on CBS Radio, the second, Philip Marlowe.
Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gut of the prison of the grave. This time, a wrestler on the skids, a quick-change artist in an alley, and a girl with an eye for angles all met destruction because 100,000 easy bucks caught them in a stranglehold which none of them wanted to break.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character in The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Stranglehold.
Sometimes men climb all over themselves for a purpose, sometimes for relaxation, and most times for no reason at all. Take professional wrestling. I watched in the ringside while 2 gargantuan hulks contorted their features in mock agony and bulged muscles at each other on a mat surrounded by tiers of onlookers, screaming through their half-chewed popcorn. While the fans, as usual, howled for blood, booed the decision, hooted the departing contestants, and waited for the next comic act, laughingly called the main event. I went again over the letter I'd received 2 hours ago by messenger from one Manny Faber. It had included a ringside ticket to L.A. Wrestling Arena, a check for $200, and the request that I catch as much as I could stomach of the match between John, better known as Peachy Keen, and Jules Caesar, the Emperor of Brooklyn. After which I was to come to Faber's house for instructions that involved John Keene plus $100,000 of Manny Faber's money. So I watched a little closer as something that looked like a Sherman tank in a toga and leather sandals crowned with an olive wreath lumbered into the ring and sneered at the crowd. And since I'd long ago given up wrestling as a sport, I turned to the fan next to me wearing a derby on the bridge of his nose, waved a cloud of cigar smoke aside, and got some information.
Oh, Caesar? You get your money's worth out of him, all right.
Hey, what about this John Keene? How does he stack up?
Peachy, you kidding? He's a bomb. Stinko. No show. Bring down. Look, they're fixing the ring up from now. Get this.
What's that, flowers?
Yeah, peach blossoms. These 2 peach blossoms all over his corner. What stuff? 2 years ago, the stuff was okay, but now it's tired. You know what I mean?
Who's the brunette in there talking with him?
How should I know? There's always something like that. Now, look, pipe down. Will you make your talk so much?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the feature event on tonight's program, a free-fall, no-limit contest of wrestling. In this corner, at 278 pounds, the outstanding contender from the Atlantic Seaboard and Emperor of Brooklyn, Jules Caesar. And in this corner, at 225 pounds, the undisputed champion of the Western Hemisphere, John Peachy.
As the match got underway and Peachy started out of his corner, the good-looking brunette shouted something at him that stopped him cold. He turned to glare at her, and Caesar slapped a hank on him that put Peachy flat on his back for fall number 1. 3 minutes later, with his head in a Gilligan, Peachy was well on his way to the mat again for fall number 2, which was enough for me, so I got up to leave. The brunette, I noticed, was leaving, too. And at the end of the exit tunnel, we came out side by side.
You got a match?
Huh? Oh, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
It's a mess, isn't it, huh?
What's a mess?
The way things are going inside there. Peachy ought to change his line of work, don't you think?
Oh, what's it to you?
A laugh so far. What's it to you? You said something to him that knocked him for a loop, baby. What was it?
A personal matter.
Oh, how personal?
Oh, about like that.
Thank you, and step down, Philip Marlowe.
And you'd better step out, too, or I'll whistle for a John Don. Nighty-night, Nosy.
So saying, she flashed a couple of daggers at me from her snapping black eyes, spun on 4.5-inch red patent leather heel, and was gone. So I drove up to Hollywoodland and the house at 2000 Beechwood Drive, where I was to meet my client, Manny Faber. The house looked like a 2-room cottage from the street, but it ran for 3 stories down the backside of the hill. And all I did was touch the bell when the door flew open.
You're Marlowe, am I right? Come on in, Marlowe. I'm Manny Faber, head of Faber Transcriptions Incorporated. Produce radio shows, you know.
Yeah.
So you saw him, eh? You saw that big, crooked, four-fleshing, stupid, mat-pounding mastodon that calls himself Johnny Peach Keen, huh?
Yeah, I saw him.
Oh, have a chair.
Oh, thanks.
Well, what do you think?
You just summed it up. What's that got to do with your $100,000, Mr. Faber?
You haven't seen the late editions?
No.
They're full of it. Peachy Keen is suing me for 100 G's for slander.
How can you slander a guy like Peachy? It's impossible.
I know that, and you know it. But does a court of law know it? No. In fact, they're going to make it stick.
No? How'd it happen?
I'll tell you. A very sweet guy named Frank Gaynor.
Yeah, I know him. He's a sports commentator.
Yes. He's been doing 5 a week on my label and going big. But 3 days ago, what we've been expecting for months finally happened. Rest his soul. A week ticker. And just like that, he dropped dead on the street. Heart failure.
Yeah, I read about it.
Well, Frank always kept 5 broadcasts ahead, see? Made tape recordings in his own little studio. So I've been running his last 5 shows as a final tribute to him.
Well, what happened?
Yesterday, the whole 15 minutes of his broadcast was devoted to ripping apart John Peachy Keen. Here, listen. I've got the tape here on the machine. This is one part.
A blight on the sports world. And furthermore, I have proof that John Peachy Keen has sold out to the highest bidder in small-time gambling circles in his last 3 matches. Now, I know for a fact that he has become so blatant in his underhanded dealings that even as dubious a business as professional wrestling cannot stand the stink. And officials have threatened to bar him from the ring. I can show beyond a doubt that John Peachy Keen has falsified medical reports to evade tough competition, and that he eventually...
Yeah, it goes on like that, Marlowe. Some of it opinion, most of it fact. And it's the facts that my lawyers tell me I've got to find the proof for or be a dead duck. That's why I asked you to come up here. Oh, excuse me. This is probably Ruth, Frank's wife. Nice showkeeper once. Oh, hello, Ruth. Come in, honey.
Hello, Manny. I haven't been able to find a thing yet. I can't imagine where Frank got his information.
Oh, Ruth, shake hands with Mr. Marlowe. He's the detective I told you about. Mrs. Gaynor, Marlowe.
How do you do, Mr.
Glad to know you,
Marlowe?
Mrs. Gaynor.
Manny, here's the key to Frank's private studio at 6122 Sunset. It might be a good place for Mr. Marlowe to start.
Yes, all his files and equipment are there. Frank didn't like to work at home or at my plant on the strip. Wanted his own private setup. We looked there, but maybe we missed something.
Okay, I'll see what I can find. Oh, by the way, do either of you happen to know a good-looking brunette connected in some way with Peachy?
No, but he's quite a ladies' man, I understand.
Why, Marlowe?
That's just a hunch. I saw him talking to one at night, a fireball. May mean nothing.
Well, I hope you'll be able to locate the proof of Frank's statements, Marlowe. We've got to find it for Frank. Also, it'll break my heart to pay $100,000 to a no-good meat heaver named Peachy Keen.
promised Faber I'd keep in touch and left. I found Gaynor's little recording studio tucked into the second-floor corner of a small office building on Sunset. Unlocked the heavy soundproof door and went in. The room had a busy, cluttered look, as though Gaynor himself had just stepped out. A row of filing cabinets and a desk sat along one wall, and opposite them was the glassed-in booth with the tape recorders and microphone by which the solitary sportscaster had canned his radio programs. I dug through the files and found a folder labeled John Keane that held only a sketchy history of the wrestler. Some publicity pictures and a few clippings, one of which waited a long second look, because it was topped by a picture of the same brunette I'd seen at the ringside. It was captioned, Carla Bennett leaves for West Coast. I started to read the story when there was a sound at the door behind me and the lights went out.
Don't move, Mighty. I'll kill you on the spot if you do. Up against that window, you make a perfect target, you know. But don't try anything cute.
What do you want?
A little more than I'm getting, it's what. I'm entitled to it, I am. The service is rendered, you might say.
I can't help you, Buster. You've come to the wrong man.
Oh, but not to the wrong place, huh, Mighty? So, first things first, like I always say. Turn around, Mighty. Yeah, it's nice. Right, getting there. Sleepy boy.
Rush me. Oh.
Marlowe, where were you? Is something wrong?
Yeah, as wrong as a limey showing up here to put this... Ooh, put the slug on me.
Limey?
Yeah.
Who was it? Why'd he slug you?
Good questions, Faber. Hey, does the name Carla Bennett ring any bells?
Carla Bennett?
Yeah.
No, I never heard of her. Huh? Oh, just a minute, Marlowe. Here's Ruth.
Huh?
Marlowe, I remember that name.
Yeah?
I'm sure Frank interviewed her once. Carla Bennett used to be Mrs. John Keene.
Peachy's ex-wife?
Yes, I'm positive. Why, is she mixed up in this?
I don't know. Well, the limey who slugged me apparently took a newspaper clipping about her when he left. At least it's gone.
Marlowe, this limey, was that all he was after?
Yeah, he said he wanted more than he was getting. Hey, but look, Faber made this call. What do you want?
To tell you that he'll be out checking on a few things himself. That's all.
Oh. By the way, Ruth, any idea where this Bennett dame might be found?
No, I haven't, Marlowe.
No.
I think she was staying at some woman's hotel on Vermont Avenue when Frank interviewed her at that time.
Vermont.
But that was over a year ago.
Maybe she's a lady of habit. I'll try it anyway. Thanks, Ruthie. There were 3 exclusively female hotels on Vermont. And the second one I called had a Carla Bennett registered. So I went out to my car and babied my aching head down Vermont to the Victoria Plaza ladies-only hotel. The lobby was done in ivory and pink with desk clerk to match, and the nameplate tagged as Mr. Seymour Pratt. I started over but stopped when I spotted about an acre of peach-colored suede coat wrapped around John Peachy Keene himself, lumbering up the stairs at the back of the lobby. Mr. Pratt saw him at the same time and darted from behind the desk like an angry canary after a rhinoceros.
Just a minute, you. This is a ladies' hotel.
So what? I gotta see the one in 212.
Not this way, you don't. Why, it's after midnight. If Miss Bennett wishes to come down to the lobby, that's her affair. But no men are allowed upstairs after 10 p.m.
Okay. How can I get in touch with her?
Use the house phone, naturally. Over there in that booth. I'll go right back to the board and plug you in. I'll be with you in just a moment, sir.
Ducky, I'll wait.
A call for you, Miss Bennett.
Good listening, huh?
Now, see here. You know perfectly well you're not supposed to come back to this desk. This is for employees only.
What about eavesdropping? Is that for employees only, too?
Oh, why, how dare you
Save it,
accuse me
Seymour. The guy in the booth there is a professional wrestler. If he finds out you're listening in, he'll tear your arm off and beat you to death with it. But let me take over. Here, give me the earphone.
Now, wait.
Come on, give it to me. Okay. Now sit there like a good boy. Keep the key open and your trap shut.
It was no surprise. Where are you now, John?
In the lobby, in the phone booth. You better come down, Carla.
No, John, I'm tired. Will you call me
No,
tomorrow?
wait a minute. What do you mean by that crack you made tonight when I was in the ring?
Just what I said. I want a nice big slice of that $100,000 you're getting from Manny Faber.
Why, you're crazy. What makes you think I'd give you one lousy penny?
You will, gladly. You see, John, I know all about those visits you made to the Lyceum Theater.
In just a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, Horace Heidt and his famous Youth Opportunity Program have joined Charlie McCarthy and Edgar Bergen, Red Skelton, Jack Benny, and the other top-ranking entertainers who make CBS Sunday nights a must. Enjoy these 30 minutes when Horace Heidt takes over on most of these same stations Sunday night this fall.
Tune in this fall for the shows that you love best of all.
Listen carefully.
Here's the address. It's CBS.
Now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Stranglehold.
When Peachy Keen slammed out of the phone booth, he was burned to a crisp. He stomped out of the woman's hotel via the back door that opened onto the parking lot. And when I got there, it was already out of sight. I stopped in the shadows to figure out which way he'd gone, but skipped that as the back door opened again. This time it was Carla Bennett. She ran across the lot, hopped into a new green convertible, and got as far as switching on the lights before still another character pranced into the headlight beams like a veteran ham making for upstage center.
Miss Bennett! Hey, Miss Bennett, wait, I gotta talk to you!
I couldn't tell where the first one came from. I only heard it. It brought the little man up on his toes and arched him like a drawn bow. I saw the flash of the second one. It came from the alley and crumpled into a pile. A moment later, a more roared, and I ran to where I could see but a pair of taillights twisting onto the side street. It was all the good it did me. I went back to the body of the little man as Carla Bennett climbed out of her car. She was white from shock, and in the headlights, her makeup was garish. It belonged on a clown. The back alley harlequinade was suddenly very grim.
He was shot, Mr. right in front of me.
Who's the little guy, Carla?
I don't know. I never saw him before. You know my name?
Yeah. We met at the wrestling arena earlier tonight. You remember? Marlowe, private detective. Now, come on, Carla. Let's have it. What's his name?
I don't know, I tell you.
Okay, we better find out fast. Let's take a look at his wallet.
No, it's none of my business. I'm getting out of here.
Wait a minute. He wanted to talk to you pretty badly, baby. Very likely about $100,000. If I were you, I'd stick around.
You've got awfully big ears, Mr. Marlowe.
Yeah, better to hear phone conversations.
What?
This guy's an actor. He's got an equity card. Name is Seth Cameo. Mean anything?
Not to me.
Unless what? Unless he happens to work at the Lyceum Theater? As you said, Carla, vaudeville's back in town, and that brings up another point you better
Hey, what's going on out here anyway? I thought I heard shots.
You did, Pratt. They came from the alley there.
Oh, so it's you again. I might have... That man there on the ground. Good heavens, is he dead?
Yeah, he's murdered.
Oh, no.
Help! Help me! Murder! Help!
That jerk.
I'm getting out of
Not
here.
alone, you're not. I'm going with you.
Listen, Big Ears, I can take care of myself. Will you beat it?
That's not the point, sister. I still want to talk to you. Get in. Go out that way to the street, not too fast.
All right. Since you're running things, where are we going?
The Lyceum Theater. On the way, you can tell me why your ex-husband Peachy's been hanging around there.
I don't know why.
Who's the friend he's been seeing? Was it Cameo?
I don't know that either.
Now, look, for Pete's sake, do I have to draw you a picture? A man was shot down right in front of you. Doesn't that convince you? You're bucking the same opposition, baby, and believe me, this is no time to hold out. Not in this league.
I'm not.
All right.
Well, that stuff you overheard on the phone was pure bluff. I accidentally ran into John a couple of days ago near the stage door of the Lyceum. He acted funny, like he was waiting for somebody, and very nervous about it.
You didn't see who it was?
No. I waited until 3 girls and 2 men had come out one after another, but they were cagey. I couldn't tell which one John was waiting for. And then I heard about this slander suit of his, and I figured something was screwy.
So you took a swing in the dark tonight and connected, huh?
Good and solid. When I told him on the phone to go back to his friend, I knew he'd be just stupid enough to do it, and that's why I came out so fast. I wanted to follow him and find out who else was involved before I got in too far.
You're already in too far, baby. You got more nerve than good sense, even for $100,000. You don't believe me? Ask Cameo. There's the theater. Park here. We'll walk over.
Look, tell me something, Big Ears. Suppose Seth Cameo did work here. What's it going to prove?
All depends on what we find to go with it. He was killed to keep him from upsetting the apple cart. One way he could have done that would be to have proof of what Frank Gaynor said in his broadcast about Peachy.
Sure, but fitting a vaudeville actor at the Lyceum into that slot doesn't make sense.
No, but... Yeah, there it is. Cameo's placard. We were right.
Yeah. Seth Cameo, the one-man all-star cast. See Lionel Barrymore, Betty Davis, Harry Drucker, Humphrey Bogart, James Cagney, and many others. Denise Glenn played in a split-second changes by the world's most versatile one-man cast. Seth
Sure, he was a mimic. A guy like that would have dialects, lots of them. So maybe Seth Cameo was the boy who slugged me in Gaynor's studio. He was careful to turn out the light first, and he threw that limey jibe at me to toss me off the track. And what's more, he... Uh-oh, we got company.
Where?
There's a little geezer over there.
What are you doing there? Theater's closed. Last show's been over for hours.
I know, you're the night watchman.
That's right. Now, you better move along, kids. No lighter and run theater.
Just a minute, Pop. This Seth Cameo, does he have a limey number in his act?
Why don't you come back tomorrow and ask him?
Well, that's tougher than you think, mister.
How about it? Does he do a limey?
Limey? Well, now, let's see.
Cockney, English.
No, don't think so. Might have at one time, though. Been in the business for years. Good man, too. Best quick changer I ever seen.
Has he got a scrapbook or something in his dressing room, do you know?
Well, yes, he has. Got a box there with every bill he's ever played on in it. Most actors do. But the theater's all closed now, fella.
Well, you got a key, haven't you?
Look, Pop, it's important. We got to find out right away.
No, I'm sorry, sonny. Can't do it.
Look, it's real important. Take a good look. Very important.
$10.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, I guess it wouldn't do any harm if you just want to look.
The old man slid the 10 into his pocket like he wouldn't admit it even to himself, and led us in the stage door, down the stairs, and with his flashlight along the dark hallway to Seth Cameo's dressing room. He unlocked it, reached in, and turned on a tired little lamp, and pointed out a box on a trunk near the back. We picked our way over to it through a jumble of costumes that had been period pieces at the turn of the century. The box was lined with sentimental posters, and inside was a man's life, and stacks of programs and playbills. It began with a crisp current appearance and then ran back through all of Seth Cameo's dusty yesterdays. Didn't take long. Maybe 5 minutes.
Here. This is it, Marlowe. Exactly what you're after.
Let's see that. Rockingham Theatre, Kansas City, September 1940. Seth Cameo of London, in Piccadilly Circus, His Majesty Navy Limehouse. Sure! This is it, baby. Seth Cameo and Limey were one and the same.
And where does that get you?
Yeah, it gives me an idea.
It gives me one, too. Now, you found what you wanted. Now, let's put everything back like it was and get out of here.
In a minute, Pop. I want to check something else.
Now, look, sonny, this is dead against all the rules. I'm getting jittery.
Wait a minute. Hold it. I heard something upstairs. Did you lock the outside door, Pop?
Oh, come now, fella. Be a sport. That's an old stunt that just won't work. That door's got a snap latch.
I heard it, too, that time. There is somebody up there.
Huh? Yeah, you're right. Dad, blame it, I was afraid of something like this. Now, look, you two. You stay right here and don't touch nothing till I get back. You hear? I'll go see what it was.
Better switch off the lights, Carla. The brakes are going against us.
What do you mean?
Well, all this after-hours theater business can't be coincidence. Well, they came in upstairs. There's trouble on his mind.
Oh.
You asked for a payoff, baby, and that's what you're going to get. Only the bank won't handle it. The morgue will.
Hey, you. What you doing here?
You the night watchman around here?
Oh, Marlowe, it's John.
How'd you get in here?
Yeah, Pitchy Keen. No pun intended.
The girl that's in here. I want to see her.
Hey, no girl
Take it easy.
here. Now, you go on. Get out.
Don't lie to me, Grandpa. Car's parked across the street.
Keep quiet.
What she could be. Now, where is she? Come on, I mean business.
Now, listen here. Don't you give me none of your sass, son. You just clear out there.
Oh, Marlowe.
Crazy old fool.
You got the watchman. You better clear out, Carla. He'll be down here in another minute. Now, look, go up that way and cross the stage. Go to 2000 Beechwood. It's the one place Peachy won't go. Manny Favors. And stay there till I call. You understand? Never mind. Beat it, will you? Go on.
Be careful, Big Ears.
Carla moved off into the darkness. I saw at the other end of the hall the inquisitive beam from the flashlight poking at the dark corners as Keen eased down the stairs. I got my gun into my hand, plastered my shoulders against the wall beside the open door, and waited. I didn't have long to wait. I heard him stop in the hall outside, and then the beam of the flashlight crept over the floor and up to the wall, and then slowly, carefully circled the door frame.
Carla?
I heard him moving closer. Then the barrel of a snub-nosed revolver inched into the room.
I know you're in here, Carla.
I waited until I could see the big fist wrapped around the gun. Then I brought my .38 down hard. His gun flew to the floor, and I swung again for his head.
Why, you?
The rest will only blink and lunge for me.
I'll kill you.
Not tonight, Peachy. I may need it.
Get hands on you.
That's your problem, big man. Fall down, will you?
I'll get you up.
Go down and stay down. Oh, you gotta chop that guy down like a tree. It had been short but vicious. In one punch he'd landed, it shaken me to my shoelaces. The wreckage of costumes, props, and a lifetime of old theater programs was scattered over the room like big moldy snowflakes in a crazy ankle-high glare from the still-burning flashlight. As I sagged down onto a trunk to catch my breath, I saw something that brought me right back to my feet again. An illustrated program from the King's Theater in Buffalo that gave me a new slant on the whole mess. It billed Seth Cameo as the man with 1,000 voices, the perfect mimic. And the act that had followed him for a 30-week run was a girl whose face I knew well. I ran out of the theater into the nearest cab stand where I sent one driver to get the police over to the theater, and with another, I headed for Manny Faber's place on Beechwood, and what I was positive would be another murder. When I got to the front door, I knew there was no need to hurry. It was all over.
Come on in, Marlowe. I've got news for you.
It was Carla with a gun in her hand. On the floor in the corner, her face tight with pain, was Mrs. Ruth Gaynor, glaring hate up at me like a wounded panther.
There she is, Marlowe. I recognized her as soon as I saw her. She's the one Peachy was waiting for outside the Lyceum Theater. They've been working together all this time to frame that slander suit against Faber.
Yeah, I know. But I didn't expect to find you like this. What happened?
She knew I recognized her and pulled this gun on me.
The one she used on Seth Cameo, no doubt, huh?
Uh-huh. She was going to use it on me, too, but I was way ahead of her. She's only in love with John Peachy Keene, but I was married to him for 4 years, and you don't live with a professional wrestler that long without picking up a few tricks.
They call you the weaker sex. What is it, Ruthie? Your elbow? Is it broken?
Let me alone, you two-bit flatfoot.
I'll call a doctor and get you fixed up. For one reason only, I don't even like to see a black widow spider suffer.
More coffee, Miss Bennett?
No, thank you, Mr. Faber.
Well, I don't blame you. I've got no appetite either. You know, Marlowe, I always liked Ruth, and I thought she liked me.
As long as you represented a buck, she did.
And I've got to admit that she and the wrestler were clever, though. That stunt almost worked.
She was clever. John Keene is 225 pounds of solid jerk.
Yeah, it was all her idea. She was in love with Peachy, and when Frank died, she saw a great opportunity.
Especially with that mimic being in town.
Sure, Seth Cameo is an old friend of hers. She and Peachy wrote a highly slanderous script. She got Cameo to record it on Frank's machine, imitating Frank's delivery.
Yes, and I broadcast it and stabbed myself in the back.
Exactly. And we'd never found out any of this if a couple of other characters hadn't tried to cut in. First, Cameo, who felt he'd been cheated when he learned the job he'd done was worth $100,000. Ruth had to shoot him to keep him quiet. Second, little Carla here.
Hey, Marlowe, please. With me, it was just good, healthy spite.
Spite, huh? What's stronger, baby, spite or dough?
Well...
See what I mean? Good night, Mr. Faber.
Good night.
Come on, Carla, let's go. We didn't go home directly. We went on up Beechwood Drive, high into the Hollywood Hills, and parked where we could look out over the sparkling, sprawling city. And then we talked about color, her life, relative values, the city below us, and the dark hills above. And then, as we watched the first faint glimmer of dawn rise in the east, we both realized something. Not original, not very complex, and certainly not sophisticated, but very gratifying. In the final analysis, the best things in life, we both agreed, are still free. You know what I mean?
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, bringing you Raymond Chandler's most famous character, star Gerald Moore, and are produced and directed by Norman McDonnell. Script is by Robert Mitchell and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Vivi Janis, Ted Von Eltz, Charlotte Lawrence, Barney Phillips, Tony Barrett, Peter Leeds, and Junius Matthews. The special music is composed and conducted by Richard O'Ron. Be sure and be with us next week when Philip Marlowe says...
I didn't know it, but I was caught in a smokeout that led from a search for a lady in black, past murder at a highway inn, to gunfire in a crumbling warehouse. And all for a girl, already dead in the morgue.
This fall, you hear them all on CBS. Red Skelton and Charlie McCarthy and Edgar Bergen have joined the parade to CBS on Sunday evenings. And be sure to hear the Contented Hour with Dinah Shore tomorrow and every Sunday over most of these same CBS stations. This fall, you hear them all on CBS. This is Paul Masterson speaking. Now stay tuned for Gangbusters, which follows immediately over most of these same CBS stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That's it for this week. I'm Dennis Daly. Thanks for listening. And join me for more, saluting the adventures of Philip Marlowe.